Hey everybody, welcome to the Growing with Fishes podcast. This week we're live from Dragonfly Earth Medicine Farm.
Hey everybody, how you doing today? Nice to see you. Many blessings.
Oh
Hey,
yeah, we're outside on their deck. Actually, oh shoot. We
Hey
have the
everybody,
audio.
how you doing today?
There
Nice
we go.
to see you.
There we go. All right. So you can actually see their farm all around here. Mountains and all the other wonderful beautifulness that is where they live, which is incredible.
we can't see you, Steve. FYI, I think the reception. Oh, did it just
Oh.
cut in? It's kind of cutting in and cutting out.
Well, I saw the farm when he panned around. So, I mean, but you were fast, like we tell everybody else. Maybe when you pan around something, take it slow.
Just go slower is what you're saying.
Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know why you're having issues on your end. Hopefully it's coming in clear. Set this back just a little bit. All right. Sorry. Trying to finish making everything work here. I think we got it.
Hey, Kelly.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Kelly.
All right. So how's everybody doing? Oh, we also have Josh from Dutch Blooms.
Hello.
Got Roger.
How y'all doing? It's great to be here tonight. I've been waiting for the show all week.
We got Mr. Green Jeans.
Hey everybody, great to be here. Thanks.
So we're super excited to have Dragonfly on. Thanks for having us out here and having me out here.
No doubt, no doubt. We're super excited about it. We live far away up in the mountains, so it's not that often that people get to make it up and check it out and everything.
Yeah, we're really honored and stoked you made the long journey, and really, really great to have you up here at our home.
So tell us everybody what you guys have been up to lately, what you guys are working on for this season and this year, and what you guys are focused on.
Well, mainly in our area right now, we're working on federal legalization and what that means here in Canada and what that looks like as a community. And it's the big question, are we, not we personally, but farmers in this area are asking themselves, are they going to join with a big investor, or do they have to collaborate? Do they have to pay for a consultant, which is $120,000 for fees and stuff, or are you going to try and do it yourself? So we've recently had some local meetings in Nelson, British Columbia here, with local government offices and lawmakers to try and make a difference for small farmers, so that we can exist and not have to join forces with big corporate monsters, because we just never know what the corporations are going to do. I mean, we feel like a lot of the business people that come in that are big corporate companies, they can even lose crops, or they can go out of business or change their names, but when it comes to our farms, it's our way of life, it's our farm, and we can't mess around, and so we're just trying to make something really intentional.
Yeah, and I think that also what Josh is trying to say is that the Canadian model and the way that they've set up federal legalization really is a huge federal regulation. So they took away a lot of access to medical patients, pretty much entire access they took away. And now we're left with this model that was set up by the federal government with corporations. So they took these big corporations that already had an idea that they wanted to go out and they wanted to be part of the cannabis industry, and they really took their model and their corporate model and put it into cannabis. There's not a lot of space for small farmers, and they didn't write the legislation so that small farmers can really be a part of it. And the micro cultivating licenses that they're giving people really are not going to allow people to be able to make a living. If you run those numbers and you look at the amount of space that they're wanting you to cultivate in, just there's not a lot of space, especially for outdoor. And they haven't really hemp into account. So they took hemp out of industrial hemp. They made it like industrial hemp licenses totally null and void, and they put them into the Canadian tracking and licensing system. And with that now is hundreds and thousands of dollars of these great hemp that we're doing great breeding hemp already, ready and growing hemp. So it's making it really impossible always around.
And there was recently some changes with the hemp laws in Canada. I mentioned that.
Yeah, just recently, Canada is allowing in importation of hemp seeds for cultivation into Canada.
And the U.S.
And the US. It will be able to go back and forth between them. So that really changes a lot of the specific cultivars that they were allowing in Canada that was really only fiber and seed cultivars. So now the allocation of CBD cultivars and medicine cultivars is now starting to be a thing. So that just happened a couple of weeks ago, and we'll see some big changes in that, hopefully.
And I will say we are seeing congruency with this corporate legalization, we call it, because we were in Thailand and we were talking with people in Thailand about what medical, because they just recently created a medical scene in Thailand and they don't have farms to suffice the medical scene. So they're like, okay, well, we're going to get our medical marijuana from different countries in the world, like Canada or Switzerland or other countries that are, legally, maybe it's Uruguay or Colombia. And so there's already like this international shipping of cannabis going around. So in a nutshell, what we're hoping to do here is kind of find a model that we can work with in a federal legalized system that can help benefit the other farms that we work with with Pure Certified Farm Network and the Pure Collective. So we also work a lot with the farms that we work with, the Pure Collective, and that's another reason why Steve is here, is to kind of help us fine tune that. To be able to work together as a group is kind of difficult, and when you're far away. So we're creating networks online that we can communicate with each other, and we're really excited about it.
Yep.
So what are you guys doing right now this time of year on your farm to get ready for the grow season?
Oh yeah, well, we've been planting seeds and a whole lot of hemp. So that's really going to be our focus, is working on breeding hemp cultivars that finish in the northern areas that are still really high CBD, but still under that 0.3% to make them hemp. So we're working on that. We've got our whole garden planted in our greenhouse, and all of the seeds are exoed that the brassicas can be seeded at this time of year.
Yeah,
because our snow just melted.
We use our greenhouses to propagate cannabis and food. So, we have a whole greenhouse devoted to food. And then, so we're preparing all of our garden beds right now and moving around compost and moving around hay and just establishing all the beds that we're going to use this year. And yeah, we're just working on hash and hemp, hash strains and hemp strains.
Yeah, and a whole lot of flowers. So we've been breeding zinnias forever and breeding a lot of different flowers. So getting all of our flower beds going.
Yeah, we just planted the flower bed yesterday.
It was so awesome having you here for that.
Tell us what it's
Super
like
cool.
for you to come here and see the farm after kind of seeing it online and everything.
Oh, it's so cool. They have so many different greenhouses all over the property, all laid out real, thoughtfully. Tiers down so that they can use the water as it goes down the hill. They have ventilation that goes down through it as well. Just really, really, really neat to see all the things working together in one kind of one giant system. All the different things to hear about and see them in their presentations and stuff. It's really, really, really wonderful. That on top of the fact that everything they have here is very well thought out and very well laid out. It's in one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. So it's really incredible, and it's really cool to see all the different beds and how healthy, and how many different little mushrooms and fungi and critters are around in all the different beds for how healthy they are. And really, really neat to see how walk around. And got a big tour on the day I got here. And it's really, really nice. So it's really, really wonderful here.
Yeah, we're still just getting leaves on our trees here right now, just in comparison to anyone who's listening or wherever you are. So,
and the reason why we have to start our seeds in our greenhouse, at this latitude, is because it's all about the night temperatures. So our night temperatures are still dipping below 0 centigrade at night, just below. So things really start changing when we get up to 5 centigrade. And that's like at about 40 degrees or something like that. So that would be like
0 is 32 is freezing. 0 is equal 32 degrees Fahrenheit freezing. So that's what.
Yeah.
Did y'all freeze up?
So
Oh.
yeah, it's great.
We've lost the feed a little bit.
What farm?
Yep, we're working with from Fields Farm, and we've also got. Are we back again? Can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got our
Okay.
leaves about a month ago. So yeah, but I'm in the south, so for you guys to get your leaves only a month ago, that's pretty cool, It's been really weird weather for a farmer lately.
Yeah, for sure. We're still having super cold nights, and like I said, our snow just melted, and that's why, it's just so important to have a little bit of greenhouse to be able to get those started. That's just it just really helps give an extra couple week boost to our gardens, our vegetable gardens, more than anything.
And we do germinate all of our seeds in soil. We don't do any germinating in paper towels or anything like that. And it's not that we're against that or that it's a bad idea or anything. I think it's fine to germinate seeds, whatever works for your system. But
we're simple.
What works for us is we like to put the seeds in our mouth and kind of give them like a taste of our mouth. A taste of our mouth. So we give them a taste of our mouth, and we put the seeds in our mouth and get the saliva on there, and then we plant that in the soil, and we just feel like that's a really good germination.
And I think the reason why you do that is because it gives like this deep, beautiful DNA connection, to the cannabis and to ourselves. And I think that that's important because we're growing it for medicine. And it's like we're letting the plant know that this is going to be medicine for humans. And, also dogs. We haven't tried to put it in the dog saliva yet, but maybe we should. Because we do make dog treats as well. Some CBD dog treats, but
could be cat.
It could be cat treats as well. We don't have any cats.
They're pet treats.
Yeah.
They're pet treats.
And what I want to say what other non-hemp varieties
intoxicating?
Yeah.
Well, we have been gifted a lot of really amazing seeds from different farmers at the Regenerative Conference, Science Regenerative Cannabis Conference.
And at the Emerald Cup.
Thank you so much to all the farmers that gave us seeds. And the seed swap was really awesome. I think everyone really benefited from that.
Oh, yeah.
That was super, luxurious to just be able to trade seeds like that and everything. So
do you guys feel
another way
do you guys feel the same guilt that I feel, like you have to plant all the seeds that you were given?
Sort of, we do.
We don't have enough space for that, and that's sad. So I mean, that's the truth of the matter, and I want to.
But we do We do is dowsing with it. So we have so many thousands of seeds, and it's been a beautiful gift over the years, and all of our breeding and trading with people. Whenever we go to other countries, we always try to get seed. It's just like something that we collect, and you can't put them all in the ground. So we do a dowsing, and the ones that make the dowsing, move and groove are the ones that are going to go in, and the ones that don't, are maybe going to stay for another year. So not all of them get in. And so I don't look at the names of them.
Yeah.
So I always make sure that I'm not looking at the names of the breeders. So I won't be feeling bad about anything.
Well, and another thing is a lot of the varieties that we do use come from, the group of farmers that we work with. So a lot of them are really good hash strains, and that is really important to us. It's like, the resin and how it works. And we like to wash plants and do hash. So we're really looking forward to growing out some of Spencer's seeds from Lion Paw Organics. So
and we put in a bunch for Spencer.
And love to Spencer, and it's really, something that we're really sad about is what happened. Yeah. So we're keeping his land alive through a group of friends and anyone that can help out and work with Mom. And he had some really beautiful genetics, so we'd like to just big up Lion Paw and Spencer, most importantly.
And we're putting in a lot of our own cultivars as well. So we really we're gonna probably do about 20% of other people's cultivars and do about 80% of our cultivars usually every year, because we know that our cultivars are going to do well, and we're always trying to breed, and we've been breeding for a whole lot of years. So we want to be able to keep our genetics going, and that's the Zelly's Gift and the Homesteader and
the Temple
Spice and the 840.
We made a Ghost OG.
Ghost Temple.
Yeah, Ghost Temple. The Healer, which is an AC/DC cross with the 840, and it's just got a magical smell and a beautiful smell, and it's a 1-to-1.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's definitely cool. Y'all pause again.
Cannabinoids. This is really what we're going for. Yeah, you hear talk about full spectrum, but that's why. And we find that the full spectrum just do the best here. They're going to come up first. They're the ones that never have a problem. They're the ones that can take to our soil immediately. We always get 100% germination. So
some other seeds that we're using are some Snodgrass family genetics seeds. We're using some seeds from the Humboldt local and northern Humboldt there, Heart Rock Mountain, some Green Source Garden seeds,
Moongazer, Garden of Grease,
Original Dankster and Stay Fly. Garden of Grease, which is Kush Kirk.
Green Source Gardens,
Jesse Dodd, BioVortex, and we're also working with some local Kootenai strains up here that we've been working with for a long time, and have some good family members that are here that have been keeping some really, really awesome outdoor genetics alive up here, and we're excited to grow some of those out this year as well.
Yeah, and we're busting back into our really old outdoor, BC outdoor, and we're really going to try to rejuvenate those again, and maybe do some crossing with some CBD and see what we get. So super exciting. Yay, spring. The infinite potential. Pot potential.
All potential, life and food and pot. Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. It's all getting crazy around here. It doesn't take 1 minute. You couldn't grow anything here. Well, nothing ever dies here, really. I'm in the swamp, but then all of a sudden, it's like it seems like overnight. It's like everything's 2 feet tall and growing. Like, I took a video too, Steve. I maybe I can share it with you guys tonight. I have to see. But Steve and them been asking me to take, since you're the plant, like you kind of know all the different plants and weeds. I told everybody I'd go around and take a video of my yard with all the wildflowers and stuff. And I'll see if I can share some of that with you tonight, if we have time and the feed works, if it's okay with Steve, and you can tell me what the different plants are, because we all know that some plants look a lot like another plant, and one plant can be excellent and the other plant's dangerous or toxic. So I think they're all probably safe, but it'd be nice to do that later on.
That would be super cool. And also, you can always send us photos, and we'll write you back. Yep. We will.
Emails are always good too.
Emails are really good for us. You can send pictures and you can chat back and forth too. Love that.
So what are you guys doing?
I'll do that then.
What are you guys doing different this year on your farm from previous years? What kind of things did you learn last year that maybe you're changing up this year?
Well, we're just continuing to really build up our soils. We have intentionally been working with a neighbor down the road to create some really rich compost, and so we have really pretty deep beds right now. So I think we're going to tea a little bit less on our farm this year, only because we have such rich soil, and we usually just go hog wild with the teas and everything because we have a really pretty fertile environment here. But I think that we're going to do less of that, and maybe we'll over tea in some areas. And Josh, maybe you want to chime in on this, because we were talking about feminizing and stuff like that, and that we've found that there's ways that we can create self, or maybe Mr. Green Jeans, do you have a thought about
creating
this?
Selfing from really nutrient soil.
If we have a greenhouse full of plants that we really like, that we really want genetics from, that you can overfeed, like we do nettle teas and comfrey
and nettle juicing, especially to be able to get them self.
And I wouldn't say overfeed, but you can make a ton of it in our area, and then we feed it in, and then it creates a male flower just in the beginning.
Just a couple.
Just we're
Just
talking
a
like
couple.
the first 2 weeks of flower, beginning.
I definitely the extra nitrogen, anything that really encourages that extra growth. I think it works, and also getting the roots to grow too. You know what I mean? That it really encourages more, because a lot of times when plants are flowering, they're kind of putting on the brakes as far as putting in any new root. They're not looking for any more. They're just planning to do with what they have in their root zones.
Right.
They stop sending out new roots. But any kind of trick that you can get to make them grow roots will probably help to encourage that flower.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think, and we've really noticed that,
Where's that
the
phone?
seeds off of that, maybe each plant will only have like 25 seeds, max. They're huge. They're amazing. And each one is about 98%, but we're still figuring that out, about 98% female. Have you found that as well with that kind of selfing?
I don't know about that, but I think selfing plants almost always does result in close to 100% female. Generally, where you get the percentage of males is when you use self female pollen on another female plant. You know what I mean? When you go to the other female, which you can also do as well.
Actually, I was gonna say, just to interject, after talking it over with Eric,
And that
from HBK and with
couple
Mr.
males.
Green Jeans and with Jesse from BioVortex, I think the conclusion between all these guys that I really look up to is that to create a self plant, you would intentionally self plants in another environment, wait for the plants that you want to self to mature to the 3rd week, and then you'd bring these selfed females into the environment that would pollinate the room. Anyways, yeah, because the idea was to get the maximum seed crop out of the area, to make the most seed.
But also the point of putting if you only get a few seeds, it is true that they come out, they're a lot easier for the plant to develop them nice and big and strong.
They are really big.
They're huge.
Yeah.
And we'll get lots of doubles,
Yeah,
twins.
and I've been finding lately, right? Exactly. It's because the plant's got so much energy.
Is it, Mr. Green, can you answer this, or can anybody answer this? Is that potentially because they're getting pollinated super early, so the seeds are developing to be really huge? When
that helps too. That definitely helps too. Early pollen, as early as possible, and fewer seeds. Like if you pollinate the plant heavily, you really got to be ready to feed for fruit. And everybody's always concerned about feeding cannabis, and they're thinking, it needs so much nutrients. But if you think about it, you're just feeding flowers. You know what I mean? But once you seed the plant, oh my God, that really taxes the hell out of it. So it really needs a whole lot of other, more nutrients to. And I probably have been guilty of making this last few months. Have been making some not very good seeds. I can see that they're not strong as when smaller amounts of at the bottom and everything, and was more conscientious about it. Yeah, sorry, you guys.
No, that was excellent though about that. That was excellent about that last thing you said. That's something that people need. The fact that the way that works was
It's just so much energy. It just taxes the plant so much to make seeds, so much more than you think. So like when you only make a few, it makes a huge difference. The plant's definitely got enough energy for, and it's amazing. I mean, if that how much energy it takes to make those seeds. It really surprised me, because I'm always trying to flower plants in these tiny little containers. You guys have seen, I'm flowering them in like quarts and stuff like that. And that's nice for the flower. It's great because actually a lot of times connoisseur flower is a little bit better if you kind of withholding nutrients during, towards the end of flowering, and it makes a better quality flower. But boy, when you're trying to make seeds, it's a whole nother story.
Yeah, I mean, it's really no different than growing a baby or when you've got animals on your farm and they're pregnant. you really have to boost up their nutrients and really think about that. You know, it's no different than giving them all the same type of nutrients that you would in a whole cycle in just a short period of time for them to continue that growth. And I think that's so important.
And some other variables to look at are how many the pistil to leaf ratio of the plant. You know, plants that are more sativa dominant are going to have a lot more pistils, and a plant like that can much more easily get overwhelmed by a huge pollination than an indica dominant plant that has only, you know, a sprinkling of pistils. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That makes a lot of sense. And a lot of those self plants will only have seeds just at the bottom of the bud. And
yes, and another thing is that I think indica plants, for example, another on the trait of the genetics, the indica trait is the thicker leaf, the thicker leathery leaf, right? And that leaf shape, that leaf trait stores a lot of nutrients, stores nutrients much better than the thin leaf. So your thin leaf sativas, you've got to really, those are the ones you've really got to take care of when they're trying to make seeds, because they don't even have any stored nutrients.
Oh, so Kelly was just saying, she had to step out for a second, that the root zones on sativas are also a lot smaller.
So
yeah,
takes a little more.
Interesting. Yeah. That's very interesting. The root zone on the sativa is much smaller.
Oh, it can be. I mean, it can be. They'll be a lot more variable. You know what I mean? It's true.
Is it deeper? Not like you say when it's smaller. Does it mean it penetrates deeper as opposed to having a wider root zone? Because since it grows taller and lankier, you might think in general gardening terms that the roots are not as wide but deeper. So I mean, you know, got any ideas?
Well, it depends on how long it has to grow and what it has to grow in. If it has like infinite soil and it can grow, however, it does put quite a wide web out, but it will tap down pretty far, and I think the sativas, you know, will tap in pretty good because they're so tall. You know, I mean, they kind of have to.
Exactly. A lot of a really, you know, indica trait is a plant that just never will get that big. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how long the season is. Plant's only going to get this big. So obviously that plant's not going to have a root system like your sativa that grows to be 25 feet tall.
For sure.
But there's a lot of variations in sativas. It's a lot harder to make generalizations about sativas. When you say sativas with small root systems, I'm thinking, oh yeah, because you know what I mean? Because there are some. But then there are these other sativas with giant root systems. So I mean,
it does depend.
Indica is like one little thing. Sativa is like all the rest of the world, kind of. You know, the way we get it. So it's kind of
generalized.
I don't even like using the terms.
Technically, it's the other way around.
Thin leaf and broadleaf, and you know, we can talk about it like that. But
the new terms, oh Lord, the new terms.
But still, we do breed, you know, males too. So we start, you know, selfing is not the only way we make seeds. That's important to note. So we have,
in fact,
we have a whole greenhouse. We have a whole greenhouse full of 3-gallon pots, 2 and 3 gallon pots, and we put 2 to, you know, probably 2 to 3 seeds in each pot, and that'll pretty much guarantee that we have a female in each one of those pots. And if we have 2 females or even 3, we'll let them all grow out and together. You know, we don't really feel the need to separate them. For the males, for the ones that we want to keep for males, which we'll probably have like maybe 10 or 12 varieties that we choose from, and we've put those in a bigger, you know, 15-gallon pot, and it can go.
They're in 30 gallons.
Right. Okay, 30. But and they can get bigger, and we can put them out a little bit later. But anyway, so the idea is we put like, you know, 7 or 8 seeds in those pots, and then we, you know, make sure that we have like a good male or 2 males, and then if the males are starting to grow in there, then we kind of start, you know, vibing with the plant and seeing which one smells the best or has the best stature. And that's basically the way we do it. And we
whatever we're
not choosing from, you know, thousands of males, and there's plenty of people that do that, and that's a different way of breeding. But this is just kind of homestead, you know, what works for us healthy in our area.
And we know what we're looking for. So if we're searching for our 840 male genetic that we've been working with for so long. We definitely know what he looks like, what we want him to, what kind of energy he's got, what kind of stature he's got, how he smells on his stalk. So, and some people were talking about that they, you know, find males that are like more feminine, but we've always really gone for the really big stature, super masculine male plants. It's just been what we've always worked with, and that's really served us well, at least in the environment that we work in.
Can I ask a question and take a step back, because I had some technical difficulties for a couple minutes. Back to what, and this is for both you and Mr. Green Jeans. When you're talking about when you create that environment where all of a sudden you've got these really huge seeds, and because you've done extra nitrogen and all, do you find that you have any way to manipulate and do you feel like at any time you can manipulate or create more female, or are you just creating bigger, stronger seeds? Is it as simple as that, or do you have a way you feel like you manipulate it where you get more females?
Well, you're definitely going to get more females because it's being selfed off of a female plant. So whenever it does that, you're going to get, you know, almost 100%. We've found, and we don't have enough experience because this is a new fun revelation that we found in selfing plants.
We're all there, yeah.
Yeah, we're really excited, and it's been fun. And we're just little small areas just to see what's going on, and what do they do, and how do they grow out, and we're really trying to solve a lot of problems with STS right now.
You can isolate cannabinoids by self. That's one reason
exactly.
to do it.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of reasons.
And I don't think it's like the way to breed or anything like that, but it can be used as a tool. So
yeah, and really, this is such a small percentage of the breeding that we do. We do like beautiful males with the females that we choose. We even do some open pollination. But we've been really looking at the selfing lately because we're trying to solve the issue of the silver thiosulfate, which is the feminization in hemp. So now we're really being faced.
It's the compound.
Yeah, but specifically in hemp with this industry. And how come
I love what y'all are trying to do, because I know you don't want to do it using anything. You want to figure out a way to do it naturally.
Non-toxic.
You're all about. I know that's what you're all about.
The other one that Wade Louder or Laughter?
Wade Laughter.
I'm sorry, Wade Laughter. He recommended too in the group potentially gerbilic acid.
With
colloidal silver.
Oh, is that
yeah. So there's people that are really coming up with some beautiful mixtures, and we really encourage people out there, you know, study it, find out some really cool things that people have used. There's been natural plants and herbs and different concoctions that have been used to do feminization, but we're really trying to do everything that we can to get away from the STS, which is the silver thiosulfate, which is really highly toxic to your microbials.
Also, I'd like you guys to talk about, like, you know, the stuff we talked about at dinner, you know, a month or so ago, you know, about, you know, it's one thing to make feminized seed as a tool for planting seed, to make seed as to plant, but to like act in a breeding sense, like, for instance, and this is a really good example that I've actually is real to me. I have this Alaskan thunderfuck, and I've actually wanted to connect with you, Kelly, on this. I've had this cut for over 10 years, and it's an insane cut. No one has the right one in my mind. So either I don't have the real ATF or I don't. But what I have is really cool to me, and I've never found any seed, and so I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll self this thing to create some seed, and then I'll be able to dig through it and create some things down the line that would be viable. But I really, after listening to a number of folks, just got cautioned on like the bottlenecking that would create. And then it would be better for me to sort through some seed that had some ATF genetics in it, and then go back and try to find those traits in those offspring and like work with that. Is that vibing at all with?
Yeah, I think that you. Oh, go ahead. You talk.
I was just gonna say it's not that there's no like danger in selfing, of course, but it's not, but the thing is just sort of a reduced variation. You can't expect to get, which might be a good thing, but for seeds, if you want to plant a large outdoor crop, it's a great idea, but and start them from seed, but reduced variation's just not exactly, probably not what you want for a breeding plan. That's the reason why, because it's just because you've got to have that variation to get your better plants to improve, because the whole goal of breeding is to go down a plan, to go down a number of generations and get better and better and increase these traits and add these traits together and create this thing which doesn't exist now, but we're going to put it together over time. And to do that, we need to get better and achieve things each generation. And so lack of variation just works against that. That's the only thing about selfing. But taking the female pollen of one plant and going on to another plant, I've done that a couple times, and that doesn't seem to reduce variation. It's kind of just like crossing any two plants. And then the added bonus is you still get a huge percentage of females. So that's really kind of a cool gig right there.
I think there's two different styles of breeding, though. I think, and you mentioned both of them, and if they're for different points, like you said, one style of breeding is for breeding from new genetics that you can explore and exploit things you haven't found yet, and others are for being stabilized so that you've got the medicine that you're counting on, like you said, a large crop or whatever. So I think you have to look at it both ways. People it's still breeding. If you're talking about selfing is what I talk about, back breeding, or don't you call it inbreeding? Or am I wrong?
No, inbreeding, you breed with the same genetics, inbreed line, where you drink the same genetics over and over, but that's different than selfing.
I use the terms that animal breeders use, which are line breeding and inbreeding. And inbreeding, especially, the inbreeding means specifically breeding from the same, breeding together plants of the same generation, brother and sister. Line breeding is the crossing of plants from different generations. So that would be included, like if a back crossing a son back to a mother, for example, is a line breed. So any intergenerational crossing is line breeding, and it's just it's a terminology that you don't really hear in regular plant breeders. Don't use it. I don't think that, but it's convenient because the animal breeders use it all the time, and also because cannabis is male and female too, so it's similar to the animal breeding in that way. Or it doesn't have to be. I mean, obviously you can breed without the males and whatnot. Oh, I wanted to say another cool thing about males is that in defense of boys, they vary a lot. They vary really a lot. Generally, the unicorn often is the boy. You know what I mean?
I agree with that. That's why when you do find a good male and you see how it reacts with other females, then that's often one that you might clone and keep around for a while.
Yeah, don't keep males out of your life if you want to be a good breeder. Get friendly with them, get to know them, because they are the ones, often these outlying ones, they're bell curvers and everything. So they can really take your shit in new directions quickly.
Yeah, and we were, I think one thing I wanted to go back to what Joshua, you were just mentioning is, we are talking about feminizing and selfing and all of these very unnatural sort of progressions of the plant. It's definitely our intervention as human beings that we're coming and being involved with this plant. And there's a lot of ethics that are surrounding that. And I think that that's a really important topic in cannabis right now, is in hemp especially, and also in cannabis. How can we respectfully breed, and how can we respectfully carry on a lot of these lineages? We've lost a tremendous amount of land races. Some people say there aren't really any even left because of this sort of haphazard breeding that we've been doing. And I think that it's really important that we're more ethical and we really think about the morality that we have and the responsibility that we have with the plant as well.
I do think personally that there are still some land race out there. And I know I'm talking with some people that have been around the world. Everybody sitting in them chairs that I'm looking at have been around the world, and I've been halfway around, but I've met a few people and talked with a few people. And of course, and when they've been handed or been to Africa, to get, land race seeds, I think that there are some, and that there's some breeders out there that are like somewhat underground, let's say. Maybe they might be known, but they're not going to come out here. And there's a lot of stuff out there, just like Kevin's recovering a skunk, right? And for the most part, you could think, how could he do that? That's got to be gone, but it's not gone. There's a lot of stuff that's not gone if you know the right people. And again, if you're a world traveler, you can find. I still think there are some land race, but I do agree. It's like peat moss. It's getting little. There's not going to be a lot.
I think the land race, at this point, are in major conflict zones. But sometimes the conflict zones actually brings the soldiers, which then brings the weed, brings the seed too. So that actually kind of doesn't work too.
And how far back does land race really go?
Yeah, so
and
I don't
how
know,
far back does humanity go?
We got some seeds from Indonesia this year, and there's an area in the North Sumatra called the Aceh region. It's ACEH, and it's Aceh is an acronym for Arabic, Chinese, European, and Hindustani, because it's an area where there's been ancient trade and spice trade for a lot of years. So Indonesia is super hardcore against cannabis, and it's like the death penalty. And thank you. It's like the death penalty, and it's like, it's like a no-go place for weed. There are spots in Indonesia and Lombok or different areas where you can go and you can find weed around, but it's not around. But it's all grown in this area of North Sumatra. So that would be an area that really hasn't been tainted by probably travelers, in my opinion, because it's really strict Islamic.
And even though there's like a lockdown as far as government, this is something that, when I was in the Aceh region right after the tsunami, we set up a free clinic for women and children.
Right.
And, the men would come into the clinic, and I would ask them, whatever kind of ailments or whatever they had going on, I would ask them, well, how much do you smoke a day? And they would have one pack of their, cannabis, and on this side, another pack of their tobacco. And they would say, I have 4 of these a day and 6 of these a day. And it was part of their daily diet. And they didn't really see it as anything that was bad or wrong. So there's a lot of areas in Indonesia that isn't, they're not following governmental laws necessarily.
Which is super weird.
Because
we're sitting in Bali, which is like this super epic Hindu spot, and you can't smoke weed. And then they're up this super hardcore Islamic area, and everyone's walking around with weed in their pocket. It doesn't really totally make sense. But they talk about getting herb from India, like back in the 16 and 1700s, the Dutch, because it's a Dutch colony. They had the Dutch people brought seeds from India. So how much of a land race is it if it was brought from Dutch, from India or whatever? But, we also got seeds from Thailand.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that a land race at all. We're talking about you walking through the jungle and you find a plant that's like 40 yards long, and, sativa, and that's a land race, that's what I think a land race is. And
we've grown out a bunch of land races. We grew out some land race from the Himalayan Connection online, and it was some Milana cream. And there's an argument, we could debate on whether it's technically a land race, but the way that it grew was crazy flowers, super tall, not really buds, plants, and that had like craziest flowers ever. You didn't like recognize flowers, but they did still make really amazing hash.
I see your argument, though. I do. I see your argument about like, the Dutch brought it over there. Okay, so I agree with you. That's not really, but it might be it might be indigenous at that point. It might be
land
when
race?
it's hundreds of years. When it's hundreds of, without being tainted, I think you know,
it's tainted. Bad weed. Bad weed.
We've been carrying. I think sometimes I think it's our role to move genetics around the world. I think it's one of the things that humans do in the ecosystem is we transport genetics around. We stir shit up, dude.
Exactly. It's pure folly to think that anything's pure in that sense, because it's been constantly, been changing hands, and we fully believe that humans have been circling the earth for millions of years.
And I think we've been messing around with cannabis for a long time, man. I think
since the beginning, for sure.
That kind of brings up for me, right now with things that are happening with, phylos and breeders and different things, there's a lot of people that want to maybe jeopardize themselves by patenting, genetics or something like that. But really, we're all in an evolution right now, and yeah.
Can I go back to something you said about, guys, this blew me away earlier, but it was in your introduction, so I didn't want to interrupt you, but I really want to ask about, like, forever, Thailand. You could do anything you fucking want to do in Thailand. You can have anything, you can do whatever you want to do, but if you took an ounce of weed in there, it was a death penalty. So can you elaborate on what you were talking about with Thailand's actually having a medical marijuana program, or can you elaborate on Thailand a little bit? Because I'm extremely interested in that after the way their history runs,
So in Thailand,
Oh yeah, in Thailand they have been talking with Malaysia. There's been a lot of communication back and forth with different Southeast Asian countries and governments. I think it's is it? Not sure. And they've created a medical program that there is up and running right now. As of like over a month and a half ago, they've got they've got licenses to be able to consume it. They aren't going to necessarily be allowing cultivation of it, but because they were saying they might be importing it. So it's all really kooky in the same way that all the other governments are stepping into cannabis, I think. But the main point is that people are going to be able to get access to it. And
I could elaborate a little bit more if you want, which is,
it sounds like they're following you. I want you to elaborate, but I want to say on what Kelly said. It sounds like they're following the same pattern as the U.S. Like, it's being grown, because you can definitely get some good weed in Thailand, but it's not legal. It's not legal, but you can smoke it as long as you don't bring it in or take it out. But what do you want to say? Elaborate, my friend.
So it's really crazy because, a few years ago in Thailand, there was mass killings happening by the government to drug dealers. And like, up to 30,000 people they were talking about getting killed in the drug wars in just 1 year. And, they were really hardcore about it. And I think that it's just like they what's happening in the West. So I think what happens in America does affect different places in the world. And since Thailand's definitely its own country and they're definitely their own people, but, do pay attention to what's happening in the West. And what Kelly was saying in Malaysia, it's really significant, Malaysia and Indonesia were the two countries that were really, in Thailand, they were gunning down drug dealers, but the fact that there were drug dealers at all said that there was a culture there. In Malaysia and Indonesia, there's less of that even because there's so much of a drug law there. So in Malaysia, there was a person, I don't know his name, people can look it up, but he was giving away cannabis oil to people that were terminally ill, that didn't have, anything that could work in the medical system anymore.
At risk of death.
So he got busted like last August or something, and they gave him the death penalty, and the death penalty got fought in the court system. So he's fought in the court system for medical legalization in Malaysia. So it's mind blowing that in Malaysia they're actually considering medical legalization. In Thailand they're considering legalization, but we've been in communication with awesome people in Thailand, and they're saying that the medical program that's coming there is just fully corporate medical grows and university grows.
Not surprising.
So they're not trying to, you know,
they're
benefit
regulating
the
it.
farmers of Thailand that have been growing the northern Thai all these years. It
Cha-ching,
is true that
cha-ching.
everywhere you go in the world, you know, different countries are all following really the same kind of pattern.
Well, governments are corporate. They're ruled by corporate. And so, of course, they're going to speak best to the
And
corporate
make
world.
money for corporate. Make
sense.
laws and regulate for corporate
But
makes
the good
money.
thing is, the great news is that the more that people are talking about it, it normalizes cannabis. It's bringing cannabis back out. And the more that we can even just normalize it in regular society, that's the first step. And I think that that's a really beautiful thing. Unfortunately, you know, her first coming out is a little bit rocky, and she's not, you know, dressed as pretty as she probably should be, you know, in the way that people are treating her. But I think that there's a lot of people who are doing really beautiful breeding. I think people are doing beautiful farming practices, regenerative ideas in agriculture, and we're getting able to test soil in ways that we've never been able to before. We're starting to test the endophytic reaction in plants and regenerative soils and medicines for the first time in the way that we weren't able to before. So there's a lot of like throughway with it too. And the plant is just, she's moving into, you know, regular living rooms all over the world for people to have conversations about.
And the world in general has been ahead of the U.S. in medicine and the open-mindedness to allow things to be medicine for the most part. And going back to what you were saying about Thailand, the money, the U.S. imposed where they would stop cutting, they would cut off all aid to these countries like Thailand that had death penalty. For you know, all these other countries that have death, they just went extreme because they were getting millions of dollars or billions of dollars from the U.S. for aid. And U.S. said, if you don't impose strict drug laws, even though that doesn't necessarily suit your community or lifestyle, we're going to cut off your aid. So the governments went overboard. That's from an old guy saying this is back, you know, a long time ago. And that's how a lot of these laws in the foreign countries really happen. Now, some countries were that way, but a lot of the countries were because the U.S. imposed their will, you know, and threatened to cut off aid, you know. But anyway, that was something I threw in from, you know, a while back. Sorry, again.
When we were in Jamaica, we found that it was also really corporate cannabis that was taken over on the island. I mean, there's, you know, the Rastafari people, you know, have been growing weed forever, and you would think that, you know, that there would be some kind of heritage clause or something that would, like, you know, bring them in, but they often felt like it was just either big money coming in from the outside from bigger companies collaborating, or, you know, maybe it was through the government too. So it is true. It's really similar in every country.
Yeah, you know, I just wanted to take a minute. I've been seeing Tara Lee, Miss Tara Lee down there, girl. It's so nice to see you. We haven't seen you.
Yeah,
oh my God, I missed you guys. So
I'm
nice
really
to see
excited
you.
to see you. You are just such a love. I just am loving talking to you, and I can't wait to get together with you again. And even though we're doing it virtually, it's really nice to see your shining face. For all of you out there who don't know who this beautiful woman is, she is behind the scenes, really trying to regenerative movement and bring a lot of energy farmers. And thank you so much, girl, for your work.
Wow,
and your
Kelly, that's wow. Thank you. Really honored by that. Thank you.
Thank you. It's true. Your connection with the plant is deep, and it's very personal, and I really honor that with you, and it really shines with the connections and the information that you're willing to share with the world. So appreciate you.
Holy cow! Thanks. Didn't expect that. Wow. Thank you. I love you guys a lot, man. You guys mean a lot to me. I knew I had to come up to BC and meet you guys. I knew that was Josh putting on this conference and bringing us all together, and I got to go spend the weekend with Potent, and man, we had a great time up at 420, and now look at this. This is great. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah. So what are you doing, girl? What's going on? What's happening?
I was working outside all day today. It felt so good to finally be outside. So
Awesome.
out with my chickens and my geese and getting ready for my putting straw on my beds, and I was watering everything, getting my ground ready, trying to figure out where I'm going to put my vegetables this year. So yeah, it was great. Checking on my seeds, and they're got to put them out in the sunshine today. So yeah.
Awesome. What are you smoking on there?
Super lemon haze, my favorite. You know, always super lemon haze. Yeah.
Nice.
Good one.
So how did you guys like my rosin? I have to ask. Honest opinion, what was your favorite one? Do you remember?
The one in the pink container, but I don't remember the name.
That was Bubba Kush. Or no,
That
it was Budakong. It was Budakong, actually. That was, yeah.
That
There
was
you go.
nice.
Yeah.
That one.
It was very fruity smelling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were all like, woo, Tara. They were all good. It was really hard to pick a favorite. I can't even really remember a favorite. I just remember sampling them all and feeling like these are rad. Really,
They all taste good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. Glad I got to see you guys and meet with you. That was awesome.
Yay, we've got lots more time in the future to hang out. We got work to do.
Cool. I'm ready.
Awesome.
I see Josh dropped out. Dutch, I was going to say something to him, but he dropped out.
Must have gotten disconnected.
Yeah. What? Yeah, he did drop out. Yeah, but he's always busy, so he's always a lot of time.
We have like a really loyal listener that Curious Cannabis Connoisseur Duckfoot. He is like all about duckfoot. I know really nothing about the duckfoot, and it would be nice if we probably a little touched on that. What do you guys think?
Huh?
Do you guys know anything about the duckfoot?
No.
Yeah. Steve knows a lot more.
Duckfoot, yeah.
Steve's the expert on duckfoot.
Because he keeps asking in chat.
Duckfoot is
Mutation.
There's a mutation. There's no association with ABC, which a lot of people get confused because it's similar shape leaf structure.
Yeah. We've even had some odd duckfoots out of some of our breeding. Like back in the day, we would breed thousands and thousands of seeds all at once, and maybe every couple of years we would get a duckfoot or all different types of super cool mutations. So I don't have a whole lot of experience working with it. They didn't necessarily do so great in the garden or anything.
I know it was something that was.
I'd love to know some more stuff.
The first time I heard about it on a Mark Emery. That was the first time I remember seeing it.
Yeah, and I've heard people mention it, but it's not something that I've ever bred with or anything that we've wanted to cultivate with. But if there's people out there that know some cool shit about duckfoot, that's great.
Okay, well, yeah, he seems to be really into it, so maybe we'll have to talk to him offline.
Maybe on another time we'll get to it. So, I think you need to get rolling.
I do. Thanks so much. It was awesome chatting with you guys. Lovely seeing your beautiful faces.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's been really awesome having you here and be here for tomorrow.
Yep.
And yay. And Miss Tarly, hope to see you soon. And thank y'all so much. Mr. Green Jeans, beautiful to see you again. Awesome talking to you. Thank you for all of your knowledge that you share so openly with everybody. It's so incredibly valuable. Take care, y'all.
Thanks.
And Roger.
Oh, Roger, I didn't see. I thought you were out on there. Roger.
Roger's sitting halfway in the screen.
No,
you are such a golden person. What a beautiful soul. I was so stoked to meet you in Michigan and be able to hang out with you. And I'm really looking forward to some future
conferences.
Because you're such a big-hearted person.
Well, the way you guys treated me, it just lit my world up. From when the first person I met was Wendy, because I was in there trying to find where it's well. I talked to Steve on the phone, or no, I hadn't talked to Steve on the phone yet because I hadn't, I had to get my computer hooked up, so I had Steve's phone number on my computer, and then I was down at the front desk, and Wendy was sitting there going to buy a Coke or something, and she turns around and goes, Roger, and to ran over, and I tell you, I just from that, and then right when we got all through talking, we were having a great time with the girl at the desk, and then we decided, well, we're going to go to our room. So Wendy goes down to her room, and I'll go to the elevator. And the girl at the desk who'd been talking to her, she knew all about what we were doing, who we were, and she goes, "They're here, they're here," and I ran out there, and Steve tried to sneak up on me. Big lanky Steve tried to sneak up on me behind the pillar, but and then I got it was nothing but hugs and welcoming, and I can't even believe how great a group of people that all of you people are that all you are, because you do what I believe in is taking care of other human beings. I don't care about religion or government as much as we have to keep taking care of all the human beings, and that's where people get lost with these arguments about this or that. In the end, it's just human beings, and you guys traveling around and what you put together. Nobody even mentioned the Dempure thing that you put together, which is phenomenal to me to see that you guys have worked that hard to get that many farms in different countries all in a group that you're doing. So thank you. Because you've motivated many people, and Josh and I was gonna try. Actually, it's funny you said I was not really there, but I was just getting ready to try to queue up that video. But we'll do that another time, or I'll send it to you if I can cut it down, because I have a video that takes movies, so I have to work on it to get it small enough to email it, or I'll put it on YouTube.
Roger. We'll do that offline.
Yeah, but I can even email it to you. I can put it on YouTube and email you a link. So.
Yep.
But thank you guys.
Bye, Kelly.
The love you showed me, that's all I want to say. Everybody showed me so much love, and thank you.
I felt the same way about you, Roger. You were showing everybody such good love and good hugs and good energy. You were just setting the tonality for everybody to just have a great time. So I love y'all. Have a great evening.
Y'all have a nice time. It looks beautiful out there. Wish I was there.
So
yes, the sunset.
Yeah, it's starting to get chilly.
Is it getting cold? Yeah, I was gonna say it's getting cold.
It's still live. Yeah, we're still live, and it's getting cold.
No doubt, no doubt.
Just be careful. We're still live.
Tell everybody
Nothing that matters. Who the hell's gonna come up there and mess with you guys?
Yeah, so you mentioned Dempure and the farms and the collective and the different things. So we have two, things that we're working with. We have farms that we're certifying Pure certified, which means they have, not only are they using organic, inputs, it's more about what organic inputs and where are they from. And we've already talked about this online a bit, but it's about, knowing your farm and knowing what kind of soils you're working with. And that's part of what we've done at the conference, is just learn how to analyze your soils and also work with genetics. So all of our farms produce their own seed and can't buy, clones from big operations that may be tainted, because our end goal is to have medicine that's clean for the market, and clean for medicine and people. So that's what the Pure certification and Pure certified farms is about.
Is that a requirement, Josh, that you have to have your own genetics that you've made on? Is that one of the loops that you have to have in order to get certified?
It's not a requirement that you have to only grow your own genetics. No, we're big on sharing genetics with each other and stuff. I think it's a requirement that it's not a requirement to grow from seed. Most of us do grow from seed because we really like breeding and we really like the vigor that comes from seeds, and it's just genetically it helps climatize genetics and things for your area. And for sure we work with clones as well. All of us as farms and farmers, we work with clones because if we're doing, we might like certain flavor, certain cannabinoid profile, and some farms might grow a whole greenhouse of one clone because it's really good for hashing. or it's really good for, so there are different reasons, but the main thing would be, you know, if you were getting clones, where are you getting them from? So we would go through that whole process of making sure that everyone's totally understanding of how, when you have an extract, if it's tainted, you know, tainted with pesticide residue or herbicide residue.
So I know the other thing is you got a number of closed loops that you have to have in order to be DEM Pure certified, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah, so we chose to have 6 closed loops to be part of a farm. So that was the way to just go beyond. It's a way of showing that you've gone beyond just having organic inputs. It's a way of showing that you're giving back to the environment. So the idea of the certification was that our farm was environmentally positive. You know, that part of the requirements is to grow food. Another part of the requirements is to have flowers and pollinator gardens or bird houses and bee houses, so that we're enhancing the environment. Even if you're growing indoors, you know, there's people that you're still growing an outdoor garden with food, just because it's good for humanity. And I think it's good for business for us to be healthy and think about gardens. So a closed loop would be maybe that you're growing your own nutrients, maybe that you're growing your own food, maybe that you have a worm farm, maybe that you make your own seed, or that you have solar energy, or
chickens.
so if you're using chickens, or you're using, you know, crop rotation, or if you're using you know, you can just imagine, you know, anything that's alternative, anything that's kind of, you know, a cycle that's going on top of itself, like in permaculture, systems work on top of themselves. And
so I got a question for you then. Today I got up at daybreak and I went out there while the dew was still on all my dandelions, and I pulled up a bunch of dandelions and I chopped them up and I mixed them up in my brown sugar and I got them outside the mason jar. So how close am I to having a closed loop on that? What else has to? Well, I have to use them as a nutrient, which is furthering the loop. But where does the loop close?
Well, I mean, words are limiting, and also they're freeing. So, you know, a closed loop would just be basically like when one cycle laps on top of another cycle. So, you know, that to me is a closed loop. And it's, you know, biodynamic certifications and Demeter certifications out there, and other people that use the term closed loop. And so if you have dandelions growing in your yard, you could eat the dandelions for lettuce and food, and you could consider that a closed loop, because you didn't have to go to the store, and it was produced on your farm. You know, you can pull the dandelion root up and dry it out and make tea out of it for yourself or your plants, and that's really extremely good too. You can take dandelions, ferment them in a fermented plant juice, and
That's
that
what
would
I did today. Yeah.
and that would be you making your own nutrients. So to us, that's a closed loop. You know, you might have water flowing down your property, and you can use a pellet wheel, and you
produce electricity,
hydroelectricity, and
or you
that
move a gear.
runs fans. You know, making compost. There's a lot of different ways to make compost. Whether you have animals, you might have a field that feeds your animals, and that animal, you know, poops, and you make manure out of it. That feeds the plants. In the end, these systems that we're talking about end up creating a healthier piece of land. They connect farmers to the land. They create a better story for farms and farm to table style relations. And a lot of farms either have to sell to distributors and you know, sell off their existence and their identity, or they have to create an identity for themselves. And having closed loops kind of becomes part of your identity. You become proud of it, and you become showing how you're making the world a better place. And we feel like with cannabis, it's like it's spiritual, you know, to smoke it. It feels good. It's natural, and so, you know, use that inspiration to create natural systems on your property. But in the end, it really has proven to be a good thing, because most of our farms all are passing all of our tests, and we aren't. And it is a big problem in California. Heavy metals are coming through and tests from different sprays and extract people are having a hard time gathering supplies. Up here in Canada, farms are still really branding themselves and getting licensed. So you're not going to see as many Canadian farms yet, but microbials are a big problem. Maybe change their laws to maybe more like California or something else where it's pathogenic fungi rather than gills. But I'm going off right now on just different subjects at the moment. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
right.
don't know.
You're passionate. There's no doubt you're passionate about it. So you like your
Well,
brain
so-
keeps going. Oh, but I have this problem I want to talk about. But wait a
Well,
minute.
anyway, the farms are basically just the example of making the world a better place. If
Right.
big agriculture is killing us and maybe big medical pharmaceutical things is maybe it's helping us, but it's killing our flora and our ability to digest, and just like the flora and the soil microbe, the soil food web, modern agriculture is killing us. So we're using these farms as an example of how you can make the world a better place, and we're proud of it. And that's what the pure certification is. Pure certified farms create pure medicine, and anything that happens with that biomass to oil or to edibles has the ability to be pure certified. The
Right.
pure collective that we're creating, which is when we talk about the collective, now that's different companies that are resources to our farms. That might be extract companies like Full Circle CO2 is one CO2 company in Eugene that helps farms to make sure that their products are not, diluted or mixed with someone else's farms, and they have control over the purity of their product. That's one example. There's Triometry is another new person that's really awesome in Northern California that's working with pure certified farms. So we kind of create a sacred commerce within our group where we can connect medible, really conscious medible companies with really
Medical. I love it. Medical.
farmers.
Yeah.
Farmers to where if a medical company or medical or even a nutraceutical company has a great idea, they want to get their they want to get their product from a farm that has good intentions, they can come to the pure, certified farm. So the collective is lawyers that can help us with law. It's soil biologists. It's Elaine Ingham. It's Leighton Morrison. Scotto Granolas is on there to help farmers. You know, we've worked with a lot of different people to be on there. So we're trying to create a network that supports farms so we can all exist 5 years from, for example.
There's a question in chat. Do you certify vegetable farms? And I'm assuming yes.
Yeah, yes, we do certify vegetable farms, and there are part of our requirements for the pure certification for ganja farmers is that they grow food. So that's because we love food. And so when we're in the world, we're in Indonesia and we're in other places, it's kind of like ganja farmers are still kind of the black sheep to the farming world. So it's been almost like a little weird to integrate with food farmers sometimes. But yes, a food farm that is using, natural farming techniques or closed loop systems, biodynamic food farms, we want to work with you. We're not trying to be just associated with cannabis. We're trying to be associated with conscious farming and dynamic living. We want to be healthy on all fronts. So yes, thank you for asking. Please get in touch with us.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and that's what we do on our farm. And Steve can tell you what it's like on our farm. We have kind of an integrated food and cannabis greenhouse thing going on because we try and save a lot of our food. You've seen our pantry. We have a lot of food that we've saved and jarred and canned and stuff. So we believe in a healthy way of life. We know some people live in Sao Paulo because we're just working with this ganja tox from Brazil, and 20 million people live in the city of Sao Paulo. I mean, how connected to nature can you be? But still there's people that want to eat well, and still there's farms outside that can help them. So it's a global mission. Really, it is for us. but we're still small farmers on the hill in British Columbia.
Not for long.
But the impact is big because I think people want to do good, and I think they want to feel healthy. And I don't. If you're a cop, you still might get cancer, and if there's nothing else that can help you, but like maybe cannabis medicine, then it really doesn't matter at all what walk of life you're from. And really, that's our biggest love is breaking down the boundaries, maybe being more like mycelium, be more like, fungi, not having boundaries. We can maybe we're all just creatures of the earth.
So that brings up another question in chat. Speaking of fungus, what type of funguses do you grow on your property?
Well, we were walking around with Steve recently, and we don't have a lot of ground natural wild fungi in the same way as like the coast or in Oregon.
You guys found a morel, right?
We have morels, and there's areas where you can find chanterelles, and there's a lot of matsutakis and pine mushrooms, a lot of wild mushrooms. There's a lot of polypores. There's a lot of medicinal mushrooms in our forest, so we use that in our medicine. What do we use? What we use on our farm is mostly plug spawn for wood. So we'll take deciduous trees and get reishi or lion's mane, shiitake can be good, and we'll plug logs, and we'll use those logs to build up our raised beds. And in some cases, in the case like reishi, you can bury medicinal mushroom logs into the soil. So learning how to do plug spawn and log culture is a really great way to utilize that, on your homestead as well. So we like that. Garden giants are another one is King Stropharia is another easy one because it eats biomass very vigorously and can live in compost and in garden beds. So we try and keep that spawn alive by digging big channels in our garden and then covering it. And we'll dig our aisles out and then pile material in our aisles and then cover the aisles and walk on the aisles and build mass throughout the garden. So we don't have oyster on the property at the moment, but we have used oyster mushrooms. Oyster mushrooms can inoculate straw really well if you just cook it and pasteurize the straw a little bit. You can use oyster mushrooms pretty well. So those are some of the quick homestead mushrooms that we grow in the area. We do a lot of lactic acid bacteria cultures. That's not a mushroom, but that is a culture, and that's kind of more natural farming stuff.
So when you say log, you're talking about Hugel method? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, not necessarily. A Hugel method would be a way to build garden beds or swales by burying logs. So that is using logs. When I say log culture for mushrooms, what you're doing is you're buying plugs that have been inoculated with mycelium. They've been colonized by living mycelium, such as reishi mycelium or maitake, shiitake, lion's mane, if I didn't say that. But that's 4 mushrooms that grow really pretty well in garden situations. So you have to take fresh logs and not logs that have been sitting down on the forest floor because they may already have other fungi in them. You have to take fresh trees and cut them and cut lengths and then seal them with some kind of soy wax so that you don't have any kind of competing fungi. And then you drill with a drill. You drill in little bits into the log, and you put the plugs into the log, and then you cover the plugs with wax, and then those plugs eat through the fresh living lignin of the tree, and there's sort of sweet carbohydrates that live within trees, and it feeds the fungi, and that's called a log culture. That's using plug spawn because you're using mushroom spawn and you're colonizing plugs, and then you're using the plugs to colonize the log. And in
That
some,
is so
How
cool.
cool is that?
Yeah, that is cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Takes a little digging, but then you get these people to give up them secrets.
yeah, and it's something that is really fun to use. And in some cases, like maitake and reishi, you can bury the logs straight into your living beds with just the top of it above the soil, and it'll sprout reishi, and it's sweet to see medicinal mushrooms sprouted underneath like ganja trees. I mean, that's like it's kind of like that's the coolest thing ever. Is to have like medicinal mushrooms and weed growing together. So
okay, new goal this year under my cannabis trees.
yeah, give it a try. And shiitakes could be maybe maitakes could be used for the long raised bed logs.
Velvet foot and enoki also when you're growing as well.
Yeah, you could try enoki. You could try that. Different environments allow you to do different things. Yeah, that's a good.
Or
Yeah.
plug.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Check into some of your local mycology, your local areas. There's people who do plugs on. It's pretty fun. Now's the time to do it in the springtime. When there's a lot of water in the tree, there's a lot of water pulsing through trees in springtime to feed the leaf growth. And that's a good time to get your logs and plug them with spawn. Yeah. And mushrooms, having mushrooms growing underneath your cannabis is really crucial, because the cool thing about mushrooms is they breathe the same as human beings. So a fungi exhales carbon dioxide and inhales oxygen, and a plant, as we know, exhales oxygen and inhales carbon dioxide. So if you have a really healthy fungal community in your soil, which is really what we're trying to get, is a lot more fungal qualities in our soil, and that's why hugel and having stubble and hay and stuff in your soil is good, because it builds fungi, because fungi eats carbon. But when you have a big, fungal colony, it breathes with your plant, and it feeds your natural cold CO2 to the plant. It's yeah, and some cultivators, like if you really want to get heady with cultivation, it's really fun to outdoors. You can grow a lot of these cultures also in bag spawn, and you can have greenhouses right next to your other cannabis greenhouse, and you can have a covered greenhouse with fungi growing in it, and you could air pipe in the CO2 into a cannabis greenhouse, and it would be like a really beautiful way to have a kind of two greenhouses next to each other, symbiotically working together with each other.
Do you want to talk about maybe what some of the mushrooms, your guys' medicinal mushrooms? In fact, Josh gave me some of your guys' cocoa. I'm so excited to try it. I was just going to order some. And while I was over there visiting Josh, he gave me some.
Okay. Yeah, so medicinal mushrooms, some people think, oh, that's, is that going to, make me feel weird or whatever? And that's not what we're working with here. Medicinal mushrooms, when we say that, and then there are lots of areas where the other kind of mushrooms make a lot of sense. You guys can find that out on your own, but our medicinal mushrooms are immune boosting. So that's why they're medicinal, is because they're immune boosting. And often a word that I'd like people to look up is nootropic. So nootropic is a word that means like a basic term is like a smart compound, where it's good because it's a good word for us because we're into regenerative living. And what a nootropic compound regenerates cells and regenerates life. So a lot of medicinal mushrooms are nootropic, and lion's mane is one of our favorite ones that's nootropic, because it feeds your brain and it feeds your cognitive function. And who doesn't want to keep your brain healthy and cognitively functional? I definitely do, and especially as you age, I think it becomes more and more important. So medicinal mushrooms often grow on trees, and the type of mushrooms that they are called polypores. And that difference between a tree mushroom and a ground mushroom is ground mushrooms often have gills unless they're boletes, and then that's more like a sponge. But ground mushrooms have, you know, a different way to export their spores. Polypores grow on trees, and they have lots of pores underneath their conch shape, and that's why they're called a polypore. And the conch is, sometimes people call them conchs because it kind of looks like a conch on a tree. There's different ones. There's artist conch. There's the red belted conch, which is the Fomitopsis pinicola. The artist conch is the Ganoderma aplanatum. There's the amadou, which is the Fomus fomentarius. There's the chaga, which is the Inonotus obliquus. There's the birch polypore, which is the Piptoporus betulinus. And I know all those because I really, really love them, and they do grow in our area quite a bit. So, you know, one thing we overlook is trees are longevity beings. They live for 10, 20, 100, 1,000 years. And so,
Majestic.
yeah, often these mushrooms are growing on trees that are dying. But sometimes in the case of chaga, it can grow symbiotically with the tree while it's living. But a lot of the compounds in trees longevity compounds. So chaga, for example, has SOD, is called superoxide dismutase, and that's longevity. And chaga is has the highest amount of SOD compounds of any, which ORAC rating is what you use to judge or to gauge antioxidants within a plant. So chaga has the most.
Hey, Josh, I'm sorry to cut you off, but we missed, like, can you back up? Like, all of that was really robotic. You guys cut out.
Oh, shit. Okay, so where'd you leave off?
Sorry. Where you were just starting to explain, we were into the pores and the gills. The chaga. There you go. Yes.
And it started kind of flanging out.
Yeah.
You know, because your connection. Yeah.
Chaga is great because it grows on birch, and birch has betulinic acid, and betulinic acid is one of the most healing compounds to humans. And birch, you know, used by the Siberian shamans. You can drink the birch bark. You can drink the birch. There's birch. You've seen a birch beer. So chaga synthesizes that betulinic acid, and it has the most SODs, which is a superoxide dismutase, which is a longevity enzyme. So chaga has the most longevity enzymes out of any mushroom or any herb on the earth. And that's really excellent. I'm going slower. But also there is antioxidants and ORAC ratings. And so chaga has the most ORAC ratings. You guys know about the Iceman that they found in Italy? Uzi is the Iceman, and that was you know, you heard about it?
Oh yeah. Or Urtzi, I thought he was, but yeah,
I don't
exactly.
think I know about him.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. Okay, go ahead.
It was like 9,000 years old from what I remember. People can look it up, but it's about 9,000 years old. And it was found, I don't know if it was 10 or 20 years ago, but it was in the Alps of Italy, and all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, there's a body. And so it's this fully intact human being from 9,000 years ago. And it had, you know, so they were able to analyze the clothing of this person, and what was in his stomach, what he was eating. And from a mycologist point of view, it was interesting because there was 3 mushrooms around his neck in a necklace, and there was also those mushrooms in his belly. And so one of those mushrooms was chaga, and that's good because it's immune boosting, keeps you alive. You can drink it in tea. You can also use chaga as a tinder to keep the flame alive. you know, from camp to camp. Then they had the birch polypore, and the birch polypore is a anti-parasitical, and antifungal, and antibacterial. So that would be a really, really good mushroom to have around if you are battling any kind of ailment or sickness. And the other one was the amadou, and the amadou is the Fomus fomentarius, which is another tinder conch, which is one that you can bring the flame from one camp to the next. You can also make a hat out of it and do different things. So we really love mushrooms, and they also.
So is that the one your hat's made out of then?
Say what?
Mushroom. Is that the one your hat's made out of? You have a mushroom
the hat is made out of the amadou, which is made out of the Fomus fomentarius, which we got in Romania. And you know, Paul Stamets does have the hat, and we did learn about, you know, it through him originally, but we didn't know where it was from or how it was made. And if people are interested, we could tell you, but because we did go to Romania and learn about that.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about it a little bit, because actually people have asked me questions about that.
Anything else you want to say before we get her up? So my battery's dying, and we only have a little bit of time left before we're going to be able to have to cut out.
All right, I thought it might be the problem. You might have a battery because you're out there. You know,
yeah, we're in the middle of, you know.
Lovely show, man, Josh and Kelly, and you know, well, do what you got to do, Steve. You talk, my brother.
We're gonna wrap things up, I think, just because we're a little bit limited on time here at the moment on my end. So, is there anything else you wanted to tell everybody about?
Give love to people. Do your best. Try to do
the love, right?
And we appreciate you.
Is there how do people find out about you and them pure and all the other ones?
So we have natural organic products made from micro herbs with mycorrhizal and bacteria, and really awesome. They work really good with compost teas and compost extracts. And you can find Dragonfly Earth Medicine products at dragonflyearthmedicine.com. You can also find our superfood cacao drinks, which are raw cacao with medicinal mushrooms in them. We also have a pure 6 medicinal mushroom blend that people can get the mushrooms and they can make medicine out of, and that's all on dragonflyearthmedicine.com. You can find out about Dragonfly, about Pure Certified Farms at dempurefarms.com. And on that website, you can learn about the closed loops that we talked about. You can find links to all the farms that are Pure certified, and they are all really beautiful people. We helped start this ball, but we really feel it's the farms themselves that really make it shine. So we're really, really feel blessed to be a part of, you know, we started it, but it's not us that really keeps it going. It's all the farms and how amazing they are. So really look up Pure Certified Farms. You can look up DEM Pure hashtags or Pure Family hashtags. It's a beautiful network of intentional farms really making a difference on earth, and they're in multiple countries, and soon to be food farms. There are a lot of farms that we work with grow foods, you know, quite a bit of food, and commercially too. So, and also the Pure Collective will also be represented on the dempurefarms.com website. And soon we're going to be able to create a website which creates commerce for all of these farms that are making CBD products and products that we can sell to the world and internationally. So what we're doing is working on creating a network and a website where people from the world can purchase from the farms of the collective, so it can all be kind of gathered in one spot. And that's how we can create autonomy with our farms, but create strength through working together. So thank you, Steve, for this opportunity to talk about what we're doing. Thank you, Mr. Green Jeans and Roger and Tara, everyone here, everyone online. We're really blessed to walk this path with you. We're really dedicated to you know, the human race and humus beings.
Yep, awesome. Thanks a lot.
We love you. We love you guys, man. We do. It's like it was pleasure meeting you in Michigan, and we're gonna walk. We are gonna continue this path, no doubt about it. You know,
We
I
have no
spent a lot of money the last month to go down this path to convert from my farm. So I'm really happy that I've met people that make me believe in what you're doing. But it's humanity, like you say. That's the bottom line. And I yield to the next person before we run out of battery.
All right. Thanks. I'm gonna quick plug. Marty and I have a class this weekend. If you're interested, our online aquaponic cannabis class is available at aquaponiccannabisclass.com. We'll take you right to the link. It's a 2-day class online where we go through with his grow along with a slide deck, and we go through all different types of things. You have microscope work. It's really awesome and really awesome class. So if you want to learn more about aquaponic cannabis, it's a really awesome class. Again, aquaponiccannabisclass.com will take you there. And then Josh and I are teaching a in-person commercial class in Washington. It's not available online. In June 6th through 9th, and you can find that out at commercialaquaponiccannabisclass.com. I'll take you to the link to that, and you can find out more about myself over at Potent Ponics YouTube channel. You can find us on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, all those other things on Potent Ponics. How do people find you, Mr. Green? I guess he took off. How do people find you?
The June class is at Josh's farm. You didn't say that, but it's at Josh's.
Oh yeah, the June class is at Josh's farm. Yep. How do people find you, Roger?
Well, you can find me at ilovegrowingmarijuana.com, at Roger Latewood, at Instagram or Facebook, which I prefer because I don't do phones because I'm legally blind. So for all my friends out there, just contact me there and we'll find a better way to get a hold of each other or communicate, whichever way you want to do, whether it be email or whatever, or phone calls. But yeah, I'm happy. I tell you what, tonight was a great show, and when you guys look at it, you're going to see a background. You know, as it got dark, it was purple. It was freaking
Right.
purple. The sky was purple back there. You know, I was like going, holy crap. Like, well, it's just like 10 minutes ago. Now it's dark. But, you know, and let's move on to Tara Lee because, you know, we got to get Tara Lee involved here.
I'm good. I'm here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Who knows where else I am?
Next
Just Google Tara Lee.
I'm gonna be in between flights next episode, so we might do that, or we'll do maybe a Friday show or something. We'll figure it out. But
Okay.
Tara and I have quite the story to tell. We hung out with Breeder Steve for the evening, and we have quite the story to tell when for next episode. So don't worry, there's cool things that happen from what happened in Vancouver for sure. So we'll see you guys again next week, and or on Tuesday or Thursday or Friday. I haven't decided yet. So we'll see you guys later. Cheers.
Love all around.